extremely strong players. Matthew, like Robin said, is an up-and-coming one of Canada's best young players right now, and Jesse is clearly one of America's best players right now.
I think if there's, we're going to get into the psychology of it. Jesse has quite a bit more experience than Matthew does in a championship situation. I know Matthew's getting a little nervous. He wrote it on Facebook the other day, and that's understandable, and it's good to vent and to try to get support from your friends. But Jesse has been in this position before, so I think the slight advantage goes to him just in terms of being able to handle the nerves and having the experience of being in a championship situation.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. A little bit of trivia for you guys out there. My namesake, Jesse, I actually met him in Reno 10 years ago when the National Scrabble Championship happened here last. I was playing in Division 2, he was in 4, and he was clearly showing a lot of promise then, and now 10 years later, look what we've got. We've got him on table 1 playing off for the championship.
And very easily, yeah, he's going to play Winnie, absolutely, to start the game. Unfortunate to get so many heavy tiles, but very fortunate to be able to play almost all of them, saving a 1-pointer and scoring very nicely in the process. 38 points to start the game, not bad.
Yeah, I'd say this one's fairly straightforward for Jesse. Not a whole lot of thought really needed for this one.
And this is where he drives me a little crazy, because he does take so much time on certain turns.
Yeah.
When the turn is obvious, maybe he's wondering, should I play Winey or Winnie? But I don't think anyone would want to save NL.
Yeah, NL are just a little bit clunky in terms of their synergy, or lack thereof, I should say.
Yeah.
So Jesse's going with the placement with the H on the double letter score here.
38 points. I know there's been some issues with score, still something that we're working on, so you will be hearing me announcing it quite a bit.
And besides that, we do appreciate, it looks like someone, hi Rebecca, looks like we've got someone keeping track of score in the chat channel there already. So actually we would really appreciate if you continue to do that because we do have some of our technical staff watching the chat, and they can update the scores if you continue to put those in there as well.
All right, I'm trying to organize things here, so I'm a little quiet. Now, I'm not sure if that's Matthew's style of placing the tiles on his rack. Everybody has a slightly different one. Or, I do it the classic alphabetical order. How about you, Jesse? What do you do?
I'm totally an alphabetical order kind of guy. Looks like Matthew's doing a different style. We don't see as much. He's got the consonants first, then the vowels next in alphabetical order in both cases.
And he's the opposite of Joel Wapnick, who does the vowels first and then the consonants. But whenever we're playing Spot the Bingo, Joel and I, it's an exercise in my brain to be able to give him the tiles in his order with the vowels first and the consonants. So I get a little bit more of a mental workout when I do that with him.
Fair enough.
Oh, he's looking at Alewife, which would clear up his rack beautifully, but would also not score very much. Yeah, leafier would have been nice. So obviously he's looking to uncouple the I's and E's. Probably get rid of a third vowel if at all possible. I don't think we're going to see something like Enya. I'm probably, unless there's something through the H, which I haven't considered yet, I would think you might want to be putting that F on that triple letter above the N. Finial, saving 2 E's is possible. I don't think anything interesting with the H.
Looks like Jesse's got Eek lined up.
No, he's going to do Alewife.
And Matthew's unloading some of those letters there, which are on their own. None of them really are particularly bad, but all together at the same time here, just not particularly synergic.
So 15 points. I think that's a reasonable play. He's obviously going for tile turnover early on. Alewife does not take an S. It's only Alewives.
It does take a K, however, on the top.
And I think we're going to see that K really, really quickly. Now, the situation with Jesse here is he's got EKE set up, but it does take an L in front of it and a D in front of it. And let's see what else. Peak and a P. So he has to be mindful. Now, he could play the L as well, saving TEE, or he could just play EKE and take a chance that he can hook the L next turn. But looking at Matthew's, remember yesterday we talked about our 6-letter stem racks, and then you can add a 7th letter? Well, Matthew has what is considered the best rack in Scrabble.
It is indeed.
Satine, the letters A-E-I-N-S-T plus a blank. They're also the most frustrating for someone who knows a ton of words, because he's now have to go through over 1,000 to decide probably what is the best one. Maybe not 1,000, but you get the point. There's quite a lot. But you know, picking up those tiles, saving just an I, and he easily could have picked up a lot of Drek, increased his chances of picking blanks and S's, and look what he picked up, an absolutely stunning rack.
In this particular case, variance worked in his favor. Looking at the chat, I'm seeing epinasty as a suggestion, or yeasting. Both are
very nice.
Great options.
But I'm thinking, is Jesse going to stick that L on leak and give him a triple-triple? It won't be a big triple-triple, but first game, championship match, I don't know. I'd feel pretty good getting a triple-triple early on in a game. We'll try to give you updates with the Collins game going on as well.
Jesse has got keet lined up, K-E-T-E, on his rack. That is a word that's valid in the international lexicon, but does not work in the lexicon they've opted for in this game.
But K-E-E-T is good.
That one does work.
So that's probably, or he can play keel.
That's true. There's no shortage of options.
But you can see, so this is what's taking so long. This is what he's wondering. Do I take the chance? Do I make it more volatile?
He may also have been looking at Kente through the N in Winnie, but he is opting in the end for leek from the L in alewife.
And we're, oh. Okay.
The curious choice.
Yeah, that's a big loss of points by playing that and not playing kalewife. Well, as they say, might be a little bit of nerves.
But nerves or not, he's drawn the blank, but Matthew plays epinasty. Excellent find.
And that's worth 83 points, which will give him 98 altogether.
Well, platelet at the very least from the P and epinasty, probably better plays there.
Layette. Not, he could play Layette off. Oh no, the AF is not good. Let's do something better. He can't do any double doubles off the leak. There's no 2-letter words above a K. I wonder why OK has never made it into the dictionary. You'd think it would.
Probably because we say it just like that, OK. As opposed to the ok, or whatever it would have to be to work for us.
Let's see what's going on in Collins. Dave Wiegand is playing Pete Armstrong for the championship of the Collins division. He had an opening rack of D-I-I-N-S-T-T, so distinct and some other things. He chose to start with TID. And he then picked up a rack of Nosiest, which he played for a double-double. And let's see what the score is currently. Oh, they played quite a bit. Currently, the score is 121 to 100 for Dave Wiegand. I believe he had unshare on his rack, but it was unplayable. All right, we'll keep you posted on that.
So at this point, Jesse's shuffling through lots of potential options on his rack.
Nothing really fantastic, I have to say. It's not as nice a rack as you would think it is. The only 7 on that rack is athlete. How is that possible?
It does seem like there should be more.
There should be more. Oh, there you go. I need to scroll up a bit.
That's
Okay.
better.
I knew Layette was on there. Okay. So let's see if he has anything to the left of Alewife. And he does not. Anything through the EI, I think, would be a little asking too much.
It would be just one short, but there would be elaterite.
No, he has it. He would be one short, elaterite. Very nice. That might be worth playing.
Maybe.
Certainly show-off points.
Certainly some style points.
I think we've all had the bottom of the ninth two-out Scrabble equivalent fantasy lying in bed at night, haven't we, Jesse?
Certainly.
Finding that really obscure bingo and everybody watching out in the ether and feeling really, really good about it.
Yeah, so some options to consider here would be plays like literate or laterite, talented.
Yeah, through the eye seems to be the way to go. We will try. We know we would love to have a clock too. I know people have been wanting it, and certainly we want it too. So we're going to try to be sensitive to that and try to get some clock readings for you as the game goes on. Certainly with Jesse playing, it's always a consideration, as he does tend to take his time on certain plays. And by certain, I mean every.
Every play, yes.
So through the end, he's got Tentacle, Talented, Nettable, and Mantelet.
It would be rather amusing, just in this particular case, if you played Tentacle, because one of Matthew Tunnicliffe's nicknames is Muffin with Tentacle. When you take all of his letters in his name and rearrange them, that's a nickname. I like to call him the Tentacly one. Some people call him Muffin, but yes, Tentacle would be somewhat amusing to play against Matthew.
I think for people out there who aren't as familiar with Scrabble, one of the reasons why this is taking so long is that because the rack is full of one-point tiles, there are just so many possibilities. Also, you don't know them immediately in your head, so you actually do have to go through the entire alphabet with each letter, because it's so likely that those tiles will go with just about everything on the board, which isn't always the case, but you still have to do all the machinations in your head and the calculations. We're going to get something soon. There's a nice S hook on leak for Matthew. If he has nothing, if Jesse doesn't give him anything to play through, he might want to consider playing something that allows him to hook the leak with the C. CH, LCH, no, nothing there. Or just make sleek and then double the word.
I think he did have Horace lined up briefly, which would have played down that lane, down to make sleek. Harls would accomplish the same thing. Now he's got Horals on his rack.
Yeah, there's no bingos on that rack.
Jesse is channeling his inner Packhorn as he's taking a lot of time in this turn, and sometimes just a little too much time.
The lack of consideration for us commentators so early in the day, where we're just getting our chops,
Making us have to fill in all this space.
It
is
is about us,
nasty.
after all. Lisa's getting that smile on her face. Lisa's the annotator.
She's just like, play something already. You can just totally see that in her face.
And what's going through? Oh, here we go.
He's going to play elaterite for style points.
All right. 66 points. 122 altogether. And no, I'm not using a calculator, so in the comment section, feel free to let me know how wrong I am. So now Matthew is going to, they're all one-point tiles. You're not going to get a huge amount by doubling your laterite, but hey, you might want to hold on to it. We'll see. Oh, he doesn't have a C, wasn't he?
He would have a nice play of Shorl, S-H-O-R-L, and elaterites as a possible option.
34 points. But he can just play his H up next to the E and the laterite and score pretty close to it and hold on to the S.
And hold on to that S, that is true.
A very plausible play, I think, is row, R-H-O, along row F. Oh, he's going to play that. Okay. That's 32 points. And we'll get that updated to you in a second as our video guy blows his nose.
And a fairly quick play here from Jesse. How uncharacteristic. Playing off the cue very quickly, but that's fairly necessary at this point.
So 31 for Matthew. Gives him 129. Yeah.
And
36. 36 for Jesse for 158.
That should be 24.
Huh?
44 for Chi.
Oh, sorry.
That should be 44
That's
for
44.
Chi.
No, sorry, 44. Put it back. Well, my computer liked row. I'm enjoying the computer right now. And doesn't that always happen? You play the Q, 2 lousy tiles, you pick the U on a rack where you really did not want a U.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some sort of Scrabble deity up there who's laughing every time we do that.
Yeah. Some days we just get messed over by that. But
It just happens too often to be a coincidence.
do you believe in the higher Scrabble deity? I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic.
Well, I could tell you some stories. Not always around Scrabble, but just some coincidences that just don't seem possible.
And I'm looking and seeing Soju and Eladerites as a play for Matthew next turn.
That's a nice play. And saving a really nice rack.
Meanwhile, Jesse has got Guano plus 2 E's on his rack. Okay, so Matthew's played Soju over from the S in Epinasty. Opting to hold on to his S there, that's good. 27 points. With a fantastic leave left over.
Which is why he should have played it under a laterite.
Yes.
Picking up that second S. You will not help him. And there are no bingos on Matthew's rack. So I think we're going to probably see Sow go down. I don't know that I would play Sewed and stick the E above the double letter. Oh, it doesn't really matter. He's not getting it.
Rugo is a really good way to unload some of that junk and score decently. Nice play.
So Matthew has a few choices in terms if he wants to go under Irugo. He could just play wider and save 2 S's, or weird, which, however, takes an O hook as well as an S and a Y. I probably would play weirds myself, saving on an S and going for the next blank. That's just my initial impression, but I'd have to think a lot more about it. He could play wussy or double-double through the U. And that's something you might see late in the game when he's ahead and he's just trying to block the board up. There's no real need for it right now. What do you like, Jess?
You
could also play weirds down to sleek as well.
It's a good play there. I was looking at wired briefly from the E to laterite, but it doesn't score quite so much.
Weirds down to sleek is 38.
Yeah, that one's definitely more.
37 off of the O in Irugo and takes away the hot spot. Or he can play, I'm going to check it first because I learned my lesson yesterday. He could play weirds down to Sojus as well, which might be an even better play.
It certainly does allow for some control for him over the board. It takes away that double-double that he did just set up by playing Soju.
Except with starting with a vowel.
True. Outwards, potentially.
And outwards as well. It takes away the E line. and the P line, and the even P and Epinasti, scores a bunch. Doesn't dangle an S out for Jesse. There's lots to be said for Weird's up on top.
So Weird holding on to both S's under Erugo.
Now I'm liking the Weirds and Sojus for 40 points. I think that was something I would have done.
And perhaps just overvaluing the S there a bit. It turns out, though, he did block a big play of Xenon for Jesse underneath the O and Nerugo as a result. But perhaps a bigger spot. Oh, he has given a bigger X spot. The E in Weird will give him X in some form.
Vex, I think, is the perfect play.
Yeah, Vex is...
Oh,
Weirdo works even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
66 for that.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt in the morning.
I don't know. I think we could have a good discussion about Xenon versus Vex. Anybody out in commentary land have a thought about Xenon versus Vex? Let us know.
I'm seeing Vex from a lot of people. I'm not sure now that the play's been down. Yeah. Vex people are liking a little bit better than Xenon. While Xenon scores 6 more points, as is pointed out in the chat, Vex is a little more defensive. But defense is not really something that I would say is characteristic. Jesse doesn't usually concern himself with that too much.
I'm going to try to get you an update on the CSW game. I see that Peter bingoed with Wintrily for a paltry 64, but just a lovely play. Dave had an S and a blank on his rack at that point. Was not able to bingo. He missed Huip Heels. If he had only last night gone through Matthew's games,
he would have seen it.
When he played Huip Heel, he might have had it in his head. And now I see Dave then bingos with Shoeing. And Peter countered with Sterner. At that point, the score was 252 to 244, with Dave holding an X and Peter giving him a lovely 52-point spot for it with his Sterner. But he chose another one, Box for 59. And Peter now, my goodness, you can tell Peter's behind because his rack is VYTQPAE. He's had to pass, and Dave keeps scoring. At this point, it's 394, 289 for Dave, and Peter has AAEKLQT on his rack with 14 more tiles in the bag.
So comps here from Matthew holding on to SZ left over here. It's a nice play.
Absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Hopefully he couldn't have stuck the C on the leak. That would have been pretty hard. And Jesse has the dreaded 2V rack.
He's doing the wave over there.
Well, he's got Varv. I think that would probably be a pretty good play through the R and Weirdo, cutting the S to Xenon, making it more difficult to hit. And saving a perfectly lovely rack of ATE. Matthew is one off from Isozyme. Ooh.
So close.
Sweet. There you go.
It could be tempting for Matthew's next turn. I'm not even sure it's the best at first glance, but Yuzu would be a fun word through the U in Soju. Probably not the best
and
play.
And Isozyme to that E.
Yes, that'd be even
that
better.
That would be a fun play too. Yuzu would be a lot, actually, that would be fabulous too. Where would you put it?
If I were to play Yuzu, and it's probably not the best play, probably off of the U in Soju, but Isozyme, certainly a strong play down along the bottom. if it were to fit, but it does not quite.
Ah! Then he should not play Isozai. Yuzu's great. We always loved playing the new words when they came out. I remember once Joey Malik playing, I'm going to have to think of it as a type of dog, which wasn't the best play, but he just had to play it because it was...
Visla, something like that?
No, I'll get to it. I'll think of it. I think it's a 7. Samoyed instead of someday.
Oh, yes. It's type of like, looks like a fox or coyote or something
gorgeous,
like that.
gorgeous dog. And, you know, he just had to play the new word, even though it wasn't the better play.
Perhaps someday I will get to play it as well. Someday is the anagram for Samoyed out there.
Let's take a D for Domesday. Am I getting that right? I am.
Look at that.
All right. The brain is kicking in gear.
Anagram game is on Sleek, I guess, not on Fleek, because Fleek is not a valid Scrabble word yet.
Fleek?
Fleek, yes. It's
Where'd that come from?
That's a sort of for the younger generation.
Here we go again.
A little bit of vernacular there.
Excuse me, I'm just going to pluck a few gray hairs out of Jesse's hair.
Oh my God. They are starting to show up. Perhaps out of stress, just watching my friends here I've grown up playing with. I'm just loving seeing them in this position here.
I'm gonna check. You might be getting grayer by the game. I don't know. It is. It's really stressful for us too, because we're friends with everybody, and we talked yesterday how this is like a big family. How well do Matthew and Jesse know each other?
I would say that actually online, we often, look over games that we post to review and analyze and get better at. They've certainly had some conversation online, but being on opposite coasts now, they really haven't played that often. But certainly get along quite well. Both are certainly respected now for their word knowledge, for their level of play, and just some of the nicest guys we have in the game. For whoever wins here, we have an excellent ambassador for our game in North America for the next year.
Well, I will say that Matthew and I have a bit of a history, because Matthew is an Ottawa Senators hockey fan.
Oh, yes.
And not only am I not, but I am the hated Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, no.
Tattooed on my heart.
Yes, a little bit of a conflict there.
Big
certainly.
Conflict, and we really learned the meaning of the word Schadenfreude when the Habs were eliminated by Ottawa one year, and Matthew just drilled me badly. But it's all in good fun.
So Matthew's going over several of his options here, it looks like. In the chat, I'm seeing similar consensus and options. We've got Yuzu suggested in the chat as well. Soyuz.
Where would they like Soyuz
I'm
to
not
feed
sure.
off just through the U in Soju?
Where are you guys thinking for Soyuz on the board? Apologies, haven't kept up with the chat for the last few minutes.
Oh, you know where? Along Alewife would be... Oh, no, it wouldn't hit the double. But if it had it, that would have been really sweet. Yeah.
It'd be a little volatile, too, with the Z next, that double word score.
Hopefully we can get a time. Because you got to think that stuff is going down. Let's see what's going on in Jesse's rack. He's got nothing... He's got a development rack.
And that E is just one spot short for patented on the top row.
Okay,
Matthew's made a great play here of Yuzu in the end to clear off some of the more difficult letters.
Top is Jesse. Time left. Yeah, top is Jesse. So, as expected, Jesse already in time trouble. 4:44 remaining to Matthew's 11:24. Matthew just gave him a bit of a gift, taking so much time on that turn. Oh dear. All right, so I think we're going to be seeing some rack balancing this turn.
And just to answer a question in the chat there, time, it's 25 minutes per player per game, so you can use as much or as little time as you like on each turn. But after you've used the 25 minutes per game, for every minute you use additionally, you lose 10 bonus points. So it's in your best interest, especially at an expert level when players are so good, to not give those 10 points per extra minute away. You'll want to finish your game with just your 25 minutes at most, unless circumstances call for you to sacrifice a few points to win in a close end game.
Give you a little update on Collins. Dave has just been scoring incredibly. 59. Well, he gets Shoeing for 89, followed immediately by Box for 59, Veloz for 30, Ads for 53, and then he got down Tapered for 72. Peter had to deal with that cue. He did pick the blank up, but wasn't able to use it. At this point, the score was 466 to 356 for Dave, with, I don't know if there are any tiles left in the bag. I don't think there were. 6 left. So I think we're just going to be playing out here. Right, we're understanding the tile distribution now. If there's 13 left, that means there's 6 on one rack.
6 on one rack, yes.
So Dave's rack is GIMNOUW, and Peter has the rest of those. There is a blank on there, but he's only got 6 tiles. So fairly safe to say that Dave Wiegand will be taking the first game of the Collins Division Final.
Meanwhile, someone has pointed out a beautiful play that Jesse would have had if Matthew hadn't played Yuzu Patinated, would have played through the A, I, and N with some of Jesse's letters.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That hurts.
Yes. Also, noteworthy point here. Thank you for those of you watching who pointed this out. Jesse has the last E in this game because so many have been used early.
Right. And I'm looking at the end situation because does he play padded? If he's looking to go to the E, does he play panted? But does he play padded? I'm a fan of 2 T's versus 2 N's. So
something to consider when he's looking at all of his options here. If he is looking to bingo, perhaps in the next couple of turns, having that last E will make things easier. So playing along the bottom and saving that final E, I would say, is a good choice. Looks like he's made that choice here in the bottom.
So 27, make it 301. And let's see how we're doing on tiles left. Still quite a bit.
So lots of tiles left. Matthew may like playing something like Miri, or more balanced could be Moi to the X in Xenon, just to score a few points and keep the board somewhat open. I don't know if it's the best, but it's certainly an option.
I think the big worry about hooking the X is that you're going to create a new lane along row N. So I think that's one of the reasons it's stayed open this long, if you're going to go to the right of it. But certainly there's a huge lane along row M to hook onto the X from the left.
So he's gone with Moi, keeping the board open there. He's also aware that Jesse's pretty low on time at this point, so
he's going to be playing a little bit quicker.
He'll be playing quicker, trying to force Jesse to go overtime, which will make a difference in this game because they're fairly close in score.
The only bingo on that rack is Faggoted, which is not available.
Matthew needs a floating T for Virtuosi, but there is not a V available.
Yeah, that was a risk. There are lots of O's and I's and stuff out there. The U was something he definitely did not want to pick. I like, what do you think about, just a sec, Gadget along the left of Ailway?
Gadget does use that final E. Gadget certainly scores well.
Oh, no,
but AF doesn't work.
is still not good.
AF is still not good.
You know, it hasn't gone into the dictionary since the first time this morning I said it. Well, Gidget, but good movie, but
yes.
Marginally. He does have dotage, however, but that would be not the brightest move, I don't think.
I'd say giving up that E is probably not in his best interest yet,
Yeah.
unless there's a really good play.
Although there is one from NASC that's still available to him to play through.
He does have Pedagogue from the P in Epinasty. That
The
would
Ys are all
potentially-
taken? Yeah, the Ys are gone. I would be quite worried with such a close score about Matthew hooking an S onto Soju, which looks like right now what he's set up to do. Oh,
So we had an update on time. There was an issue with the time reported on the software. Jesse actually has 7 minutes and Matthew has 8, so there is no time issue as we expected before. We're having some trouble with the annotation software at Table 1, so we thought there was less time than there actually is.
yeah, I'm thinking something like Dago to the Y, blocking the E lane for bingos and blocking Matthew from sticking an S.
So Goad's going down
He's
at
going
D1,
there too.
holding on to that E.
26 points, 327. I think we're going to see Tyros pretty quickly. We'll see. Get your final score on Collins, if I can. Still waiting for the next play. All right. Well, I have a feeling it's probably finished. But I think there's no question that Dave won that game. The computer on one iteration liked Pedagogue, and then it liked Goad. But we're not using a computation right now that's going to determine what will be the greatest likelihood of you winning the game. So we have to take what the computer says with a grain of salt.
I think one of the things maybe it would like about Pedagogue is that it takes out the E in Epinasty for Matthew to use
Sure.
potentially. It also takes out the 7 lane created by his last play of Moi. It would leave the option of playing through the G potentially, or the O in Pedagogue if it were to fit really snug.
Unfortunately, the bag is really consonant heavy. 2 Bs. At the time, a C unseen. Lots of Rs.
So Matthew is going for points here. Playing trios, sojus, and yo.
27 points. So 315. Still a heartbeat behind. Still a beat behind.
And he's okay with leaving 2 vowels in his rack here because the pool is extremely consonant heavy at this point in time.
And the V's and W's are gone, so the U is not as terrible. Still another S. 3 R's, however. We'll see what happens. And he's keeping us in suspense. Now over on Jesse's rack. That C might turn out to be incredibly important since he does have the lead and it's a good blocking tile.
Matthew hasn't drawn, so I'm assuming
Oh,
that he's on
being
hold.
held, yeah.
Oh, never
Nope.
mind. There's
Nope.
his tiles.
Yeah, here comes those R's.
And he's got a whole lot of barf on his rack, plus a few other letters.
Foobar.
Oh yes, foobar as well.
And I don't think I need my son to send me what that stands for.
No.
All right, so what's going through Jesse's head? Well, we've got this juicy bingo row. but just the one. And a more unlikely one along Alewife to the left. That's right now, I think, the big scoring area. If you can hit it, if you can get a 6-letter word down that side, you can score a lot of points right now. Can he hit the triple letter to the double word through the T in trios? Oh, and there's the lack of haircut again, getting in our way. He can play gitted, Gitted. That's one possibility. And sighted would be the obvious one, but he would save 3 consonants, and that's very worrisome. And it's a lot easier to for Matthew to play above sighted than it would be above gitted. Another worry if you're holding onto a C late in a game where there aren't a lot of vowels in the bag is, am I going to be able to play that C? The score is very, very tight. If he has a C left on his rack, that's 6 points he's going to have to give up if he doesn't go out first or can't use the C. He's looking to balance his rack.
I'd say reasonable. He's looking to have the most control over his destiny in the end game as possible.
Yeah, 19 points for 346.
Oh, and he's drawn RS. His rack is not looking that bad. He's going to go into the end game pretty good here.
But he has relics, and that's not playable. But holding on to the vowels was very important.
Aside from that, it does leave just 1 tile in the bag, so he's forcing Matthew to empty the bag.
I will point out that Matthew's trios now block Jesse's tiercels and sclerite. No, sclerite went to fit. Tiercels, I think, is it. And reticles, obviously.
Matthew's got a few new words here. Barfy and Burfy are 2 possible plays that could go down off of the E in Alewife. It would offer a lot back, but that would certainly clear off some of the clutter he's got in his rack.
It would, but man, I wouldn't want to stick an I down there right now, FI.
Perhaps under different circumstances, if Jesse didn't have an I, which Matthew would have to assume safely by now, he could just play barf and maybe hook the I under it later.
Yeah, that's a problem, but there's altogether 3 I's available. But really, really tough to use that spot to the left of Alewife. You would have thought it would have gone a long time ago. It's a nice 40-point scoring area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like absolutely nothing. Now through the T, let's see if we can figure anything out. Absolutely nothing. I think playing trios instead of tyros was understandable, but I think it's kind of biting him a little bit, because if he had played tyros, he could play something as simple as if, which would score, or riff, even better, to get rid of one of the R's, which would score, and more importantly, it would block the bingo lane next to the M in moi. You'd get 24 points and block that bingo lane. So it was good thinking. He didn't have the F on his rack at the time, so he kind of had to do it, but now it's kind of biting him. I'd be a little worried about Jesse's rack right now. Let's see if I can get you a final score in Collins. and I will. It's a win. Well, it's still waiting for the play. I'm going to assume it's a 529 to 405 victory for Dave Wiegand in the first game. So this day we don't have differential as important, right? It's out of 5 today, so you have to win.
It's a best of 5 today for the format. Spread will only be relevant if there happens to be a tie between any of the players, because then it's essentially like a best of 4 again. But this time around, we're not going to see, for the most part at least, anything that's match play style from the players, because really all they have to do is just win the games, period.
Right. So even though it's a 124-point victory, unless really unlikely, and we say that all the time, and then one year it's going to happen, but unlikely that the 124-point spread is going to be relevant. It's just a win that goes into the box for Dave Wiegand. So Jesse has difficult choice here. He's up by 27 points.
Matthew's pulling a Jesse right now. Head in hand, looking down at that rack. He does have an extremely difficult spot here. Coco, just to explain for your question there, yesterday we were playing best of 4s for the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and what that means is if both players had won 2 games each in their series, then it was a matter of who won by certain numbers of points compared to how much each player lost by. So there was at least one series where both the players won 2 games, but one of the players won their games by more points than the other player won their 2 games. So that's the tiebreaker, and today that's not as relevant. In fact, it's not, unless there's a tie, because in this best of 5 format, all you have to do is just win 3 games out of the 5 to win the title. The win-loss differential will only matter if they happen to have 2.5 games, which happens when you get at least 1 tie.
I didn't want to approach any of the players before the game started. Obviously, their head has to be focused, but would love to have heard how they spent their nights, how they spent their evenings. Was there alcohol involved? How they slept.
I know that Jesse went out to gamble for a little bit with his roommate, Austin Shin, who was playing in the Collins division, but I don't think he was out too late. So Matthews made a play of barf. He holds the eye. He's going to be aware that it hooks with an eye. I will assume Jesse is as well.
Yeah, there was 1 tile in the bag, that's right. That was a bit ballsy on his part. He saved 3 tiles that don't go with a lot of other tiles to be able to go out the next turn, which is exactly what he would want to do in order to catch Jesse with as many tiles on his rack as possible. So he took a chance with that by holding on to the U. Not that I know how much of a choice he had. I certainly would have played Burf. Oh, you can't play Burf. You can only play Burfie. So, how much alcohol did I have last night? Well, the answer to that
is a little bit, apparently.
0. No, 0. Let's see what Matthew could play. Erbia to an A.
Jesse is tracking letters right now. He wants to make sure that he's got all the letters right on his rack. 2 minutes left on Jesse's clock right now, or under 2 now, and Matthew's got 50 seconds.
Matthew does not have an out with those tiles. Bruit will not fit. And let's see, he has Burfie no, Buren no, Kruby no, and Rubli no. So I think he's in a bit of a hole here. If Horrell took an S, it would be really, really simple ciders and out, into because there's he's probably going to have to play both vowels if he wants to make a 5-letter word. He's going to have to look, Jesse, to see if there's a place in 2 places that he can go out. Oh, he's going out this way. He's not maybe 100% sure. Interesting. Oh my goodness. We got us a situation. What was that about?
Well, he's got cuts,
sec.
or yeah, he's got several places to go out.
But
for
can
sure.
he score with them enough? He played IR. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
No!
He panicked.
Time
Why
trouble.
did they even get? Look at Lisa. Yeah. Well, he had 2 minutes, so.
Wow. Time trouble showing its head here.
So this is a situation that not only will likely cost Jesse the game, and we're not 100% sure yet. But
Matthew's setup is going to be just fine now. He can't go out, but Rib will score well under bar.
Oh yeah, now he's fine. So he's lost this game with his error, and how that's going to affect him in the next game. I think we might have a longer wait between games than we thought we would.
So Matthew's going to do what he needs to do, play Rib underneath very quickly, and put time pressure back on Jesse.
Well, I think we're going to get a challenge probably. He doesn't have a choice but to challenge.
He probably will if he's not even sure of the word. Tongue's out on Jesse's face.
He's not. He didn't put him on hold.
He's just going to play Cider now.
Ciders,
pardon me.
28, yeah. So Matthew got 25 for 362.
And to go out. We're going to get scores updated here. Or us, it looks like.
And then Jesse got 28. So 370. Oh, it's going to be enough? Ooh.
That's 6 points.
456. Could he do better than 6? 456 for YOU. Lots of places for you. We have to get a score here.
So if Jesse left 1 in his rack, that's possibly a tie.
Oh my god.
Beautiful Magic game. Ear doesn't mean anything because it's a phony word. So the reason why that play came off is because Jesse made an error. And
no, he had 2 on his rack. No, he didn't. He had 2 on his rack. He's going to win by 2 points.
I think Matthew may win this by 2 points.
Give Matthew 6 more points.
Or a tie. Let's see. It's either a tie or a win by 2 points.
I think it's a win by 2.
We're just going to wait for updated scores here. Either way,
they're recounting.
Super exciting game.
Wow. Snapping defeat from the jaws of victory. Never pleasant. You got to feel. Let me check on the Scrabble board here if they've updated, and we can get an actual score.
So they are recounting the game at this point, and understandably so, of course. Time played a big factor here, Jesse wanting to perhaps rush Matthew in the end game, but in the process transposed or didn't think about IR. Jesse was also low on time, so maybe he just didn't want to go over time. It's fairly uncharacteristic of Jesse. He's usually quite calm and collected in games like these, but this is probably the biggest title he's played for so far, so a little bit of nerves showing.
Yeah, they're doing a recount, but I think they...
And the clock was 5 seconds to 4 seconds.
Clock.
So the clocks, we were told at the end, 5 seconds on one side and 4 seconds on the other side. So both very low on time.
Any comments out there? What are people saying, Jess?
Right now, just looking at the chat feed here, and we're seeing commentary about layer, L-E-I-R, being a Collins word, and that Perhaps Jesse's thought process in that short amount of time was perhaps he saw that first and saw that was Collins only, switched to LIER, and then forgot to check to make sure that IR was a word. I've done things like that before where I've changed the order of the letters so that I'm playing a word in the right dictionary, but then I've forgotten to consider other plays. So it is possible with that time pressure that he forgot to consider how the other words would form after changing it. That's just a possibility. It's hard to say. There's lots going through your mind in such a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
In this case.
But it makes me wonder, though, if he doesn't hold and challenge Rib and Barfy, it's possible he just didn't see it. It didn't think of it because it is a relatively new word. And then when he played it, it was like click, oh yeah, shoot, I missed that. That's probably what happened.
The look on his face did suggest that he realized what Matthew had done after Matthew played Rib underneath. So kudos to Matthew for making a setup play here that in unbelievable circumstances he was able to capitalize on. Assuming Jesse makes a valid play, there is no win for Matthew, but unfortunately he did not make a valid play. So Matthew's winning this game by just 2 points, I believe. So 3-7-2 to 3-7-0 in favor of Matthew Tunnicliffe. We have finished game 1 in the in the NASC final here in Reno in 2015. We're just going to sign off here for a little bit until the next round. Until then, I'm Jesse Matthews.
I'm Robin Pollock-Daniel.
And we'll be back soon. Thank you. Welcome back to the 2015 North American Scrabble Championship here in Reno. I am Jesse Matthews here with Robin Pollock-Daniel today. We're going to be looking at a call-in CSW match on board one for this round. It's going to feature Peter Armstrong versus Dave Wiegand. Both players are from the Pacific Northwest, facing off for the Collins National Champion title. So far, I believe Dave leads 1-0. I'm not sure of the spread on that.
529 to 407 was the score, so 122-point spread, but spread isn't important unless there's the unlikely event of a tie.
So far Dave leads. Psychological advantage going into the next game, of course, with that win, but Peter has been fairly unfazed regardless throughout the tournament, playing some solid Scrabble. Looking forward to a great match between both very skilled competitors. Oh,
Peter's the salt of the earth. He's just the nicest guy. Recently married, recently had his first child, 3 months old. He's settling into his life and into himself. I don't think it's a surprise that he's playing so well at a tournament when your life starts coming all together. So your Scrabble comes together too. Both fantastic, gentle guys, incredibly smart, great word knowledge, great strategy. We're in for a really wonderful game and series. I love that wedding ring he's wearing. I love that color of that gold. That's Peter's hand. Dave immediately picks a bingo. We'll see if it's playable. I'm going to imagine that Peter is going first. There we go. And we'll also keep you posted as we can with the TWL game as well, with Matthew versus Jesse, and see how Jesse recovers after devastating error. That's really, really tough. And can you imagine how hard it must be when you're in the finals of a national championship? Neither has won it. Dave has won nationals, the TWL vernacular. Who won last year, the CSW?
Adam Logan actually had a very dominating performance.
Can't have too many titles under your belt.
No.
We'll try to get you Peter's tiles. I think I saw some of them, NCEST, something like that. It's kind of hard to see. He's also wearing a hat, which is going to make it a little bit difficult for us to see the tiles. So as we see snippets of them, and if he doesn't move them, we're golden. Might need to arrange to have a runner come and give us his racks. I'm sure we can find a volunteer here. Well, whatever his 7th tile was, and I'll try to get it for you when I get the computer version up and running, he felt it was strong enough, his leave, to just pass the 1. Oh, my goodness, and he picks an A up, so yeah. That was a good pick. Cetane's at the very least, and there's probably some Collins words. And Tenaces, which is also TWL.
So Dave is going with Nuttier fairly quickly here.
Peter had another N on his rack, so he had CEENNST. Kind of fortunate to pick that vowel, but
yes,
he did it. And it should not be hard for him to play through at all. In terms of no double-double, through the I he has cineast. Nothing off the U. And through the R he has a whole bunch.
Reenacts, Sarsenet, I think, are at least 2. I'm not sure how many more.
Centaurs, yeah. Reenacts, Reascent. And the Collins only Encastre, ENCASTRE. Which is not a verb, it does not take a D. Nor does it take an S, from what I can see. So that's a fun one to entice somebody to stick a D or an E on it. Encaster does not take anything, from what I could see. Nope. And that's a rack that he definitely would have studied. So I think we're looking at either cineast, which I don't think will come down. I think we're going to see something through that R. And we have the Matthew and Jesse game up as well. Matthew picking an S and a blank on his opening rack. AGIILS, so at the very least something like sailing, which is exactly what he plays. And Jesse has 7 vowels. AEEIIOU. Sailing, of course, takes an S. And as we're not playing Collins in that dictionary, I think we're probably going to see a pass on Jesse's part. So, and that's in fact what he does. He passes everything but one E. So not the way he wanted to start after that loss in the first round.
So some quick updates from the other games. Kevin Fraley is over John Karras in Division 2, 1-0. Bill Ewing is up 1-0 on Charles DuPont in Division 3. And then in Division 4, Evan McCarthy is up 1-0 on Constance Creech.
I'm always mixing up Constance Creech with Connie Creed.
Yes, it's fairly close. So Dave has played the straightforward cat here for 32 points.
Now, Peter has an H, which would go lovely against the S in Sarsenay and come down with a 5-letter word, but unfortunately he does not have one.
Actually, I do believe Peter has an H. I'm just not sure there's a 5, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't have a 5 to come
Sorry.
down to the S. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's got all sorts of possibilities. I mean, that's a jihadi rack, which has all sorts of spellings and variations. So it's just a matter of which one he's going to put down, probably.
So he's lined up jihadi with the E after the J. He could also do Haji and Kat as well. Jihadi up to the double letter score and is the optimal play here, looks like.
That's 52 points. So 130 points for Peter. And Dave is in more vowel trouble. Ixia would be a fantastic dump. And I don't immediately see a good place. Let's have a look.
Dave doesn't quite have Jaxie on his rack, Jaxy or Jaxie, but neither play here. He doesn't have the letters for it or the positioning for it. Doesn't quite have an X play down from the E in Sarsnet. That's too bad for him.
Kind of not fun for us to second guess Dave Wiegand, because not only do we have the disadvantage that we're not steady Collins players, but this is Dave Wiegand, and he thinks at a level that is just unbelievable, and he finds things that mere mortals do not. He does have ticks off the EHA in Jihad, which would have leave a terrible rack, but it does score and it does block any J plays. It's 41 points. Now that's the mortal play.
We need to start looking for some immortal plays here for sure.
It might be worthwhile to try to get rid of some of the vowels and hold on to the X. The possibility of XU along the right of Sarsenay at a later turn.
Ixia does fit nicely on top of Nadir to the A and Cat. I forget what Dave's rack is here to see the leave for that. That'd still be a lot of vowels, so perhaps not. Maybe if playing Ixia, probably another A somewhere.
Not terrible, not terrible. Saving AAIT. You know, I would think that's a perfectly fine play. It gives up a lot of points, though. Not only do you not get the 40 for ticks up on top, but you give your opponent the J spot for 39 easy points. Which he would have. Yeah.
Dave is opting for points in the end here, playing for ticks.
preventing Peter from playing, at the very least, Jamb, J-A-M-B on top.
He's not going to have to worry about that here, thankfully, because he does have Amboina at the very least, and I think there are some Collins options. Let's see the chat here. Ooh, Bonamani I see in the chat. Very nice.
Bonamia, wow. Good friend?
Perhaps, yes. Yeah, Bonamia, Bonamani. Yes, some nice plays.
Bonamani through the N, very nice. And Abdomina.
Very nice. The Collins crowd is on point today. Thank you, guys.
So Bonamani might be the play because it does allow him to double it through the N in Sarcenet, and it does not take an S. Which really drives me nuts when I study Collins, and I've been trying to make the transition. And it's hard enough, all the tens of thousands of new words, but so many of them do not take an S that you have absolutely no rhyme or reason why they do not take the S. It really does force you to learn whether they're verbs and past tenses and things like that, which I just don't have the space in my brain for all of that information.
Yeah, there are some different schools of thought here. There are some players that like knowing definitions of most of the words that they play. Some like knowing just the parts of speech that they are, such as verb or noun, adjective. And other players just like plain old studying alphagrams and just seeing the words and knowing the solutions in them. The argument is made that if you just study the anagram solutions of sets of letters, then you save more space in your brain for fitting in more words. But for some people, it helps them to remember if they actually know what the part of speech is or the definition is. So every player's got their own way to learn words. I personally, I like knowing the part of speech sometimes, but I don't often have time for definitions.
Good as any.
So Bonamia goes down.
Bonamani was a bit better, but... So how many points did he get for that? 66 points for 196. Over in the TWL word game, Dave had to pass with that. Jesse had to pass with those 7 vowels. Matthew got down pow and Jesse got down clue, but now I see that Matthew has bantangs through the N in sailing, which I'm going to assume he's going to play, and he does.
He's up by a lot now.
At that point, he's up 161 to 29. Jesse has a rack of ADEKORR. And then Matthew immediately picks up impinge. And the D in dark that Jesse just played will allow him to play impinged.
So this is going to be a fairly high-scoring game for Matthew.
And we're still waiting for the next play on that.
Not looking good for the Jesse Day fans out there right now.
Oh, wow. So you see how... and impeding, obviously, besides impinged, which would allow him to hit the double word. So an exquisite example of how the smallest of errors... And this error could have happened on play 3 and been just as devastating.
Mm-hmm.
That it happened in the end game with a sure win there's no words for what a player feels at that time. So really, really feeling for Jesse right now. But it ain't over. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if it went to 5 games. Jesse's a fighter.
I have great faith in my namesake. I think he's going to find a way to turn this around, get at least another game out of it. I'm thinking it's a 5. I predicted 5 games for that final there, although it's going to be quite the dramatic story if it goes to 5 at this point, based on the way it's looking.
On Peter's rack, there's nothing available to him as a 7. In Collins, with an M, he's got Wiegand, but nothing that he'll be able to play here with all those E's. So definitely we'll be seeing getting rid of EE for sure, and possibly the K. Dave is taking this. Whose turn is it now? It's Dave's turn.
It's looking at that tropical tree.
Yeah, we love Ali. Yeah, starting to get a bit more volatile now, by necessity. 24 points to make it 163. Now he's given If Kene was good off elk in Ali, oh my goodness, that would have been quite the play. But I think we might see Eek come down besides NA, EL, and TI. I see a good spot for Eek. Making Nay, Elk, and Tie. That's 30 points and nicely cleaning up my rack. And he has the same option over Bonamia, over the NAM to block the board up. But why would he bother? He's ahead and he's got a blank.
We've had Nebek suggested, Nebek on the B in Bonamia. But Eek also strong candidate.
Again with the blank. I'm not in any rush to block that B.
If he does play on that A, Warrison's on Dave's rack will be blocked.
Very good point. Very good point. It's just so tempting to leave it for yourself. But I think what the mantra of Peter, I mean, I don't like to constantly be aware who I'm playing when I play. I just like to play my game. I do want to be mindful of the player I'm playing and his or her weaknesses or strengths. In this case, David, it's just strengths. And play paranoid. But the reality is Dave is, time and again, just comes back, in hopeless situations to even the score, surpass the score. Perhaps blocking Bonamia by playing Eek there is the right play, despite the fact that he's got a blank on his rack. He's playing, come on. I wonder if anybody can hear the shuffle of tiles in the background in the chat. There's a wonderful sound when you come in. I wasn't able to play this year, and I knew that the hardest moment for me when I came into the room was after the announcements. You may begin your games, and then that gorgeous silence followed by the tiles.
Yeah, it's kind of this, it's almost eerie, one of the only times that we're all quiet, just for the first few minutes of shaking the tiles. But
I'd almost like to make a symphony with it, incorporating that sound of tiles in the bag.
It's symphonic for just a few moments, and then it becomes cacophonic afterwards as people are talking and shouting and shouting out challenge, and yes, quickly changes from the harmonious sound.
I think we've lost some computer. Something's happened with the computer here, and that it's really tough in a big hotel like this with the internet, and things are going awry. Okay, we're back on. One of the games anyway. I'll try to get you the other game when it comes back online. Possibly what's going through Peter's head now is, have I missed a bingo? I mean, I think we're beyond the point. I think that was after the 4-minute point.
Mm-hmm.
Eek really does do a good job of over Bonamia of blocking the board up. And I think against someone like Dave, to be mindful of his horrific history of coming back when behind. Not that he's behind, it's only 27 points, it's not a big deal. 33 points.
In big game situations in the past for Dave at World Championships, luck has not been on his side, particularly against the legend Nigel Richards himself. But things are looking pretty good for Dave here, despite the fact his bingo play or bonus play has just been blocked.
Warrison's was the only bingo playable for him. I don't see really. I mean, he's going to want to get rid of one of the S's. But there are a bunch of WO plays that are quite nice. Obviously, under the BO in Bonamia, and then Wax and Odd is another WO dump spot.
Warren does play on top of Eek, and he has several S's where he could hook that later. 2 of the last 3 S's in his rack.
Trouble saving IR is always a bit tricky.
Or just Cis, actually, would be left over if he played Warren.
That's not, well, yeah, there are a bunch of places to stick S's on this board, so it is a worthwhile tile to keep. Let's see what else we could do. I'm sure he's looking for double-doubles through the EM. Pardon me. He does have worminess through the EM if the M and E were in different places.
Emergency clabbers play.
Yeah.
For those of you out there who are not sure what I mean, clabbers is a variation of Scrabble we play sometimes, where you play the letters in any order you want, as long as they can be rearranged into a valid Scrabble word.
He has, let me see if he has any double-doubles through the EM. I'm not seeing any right now. So when you're learning to play the game, you're always very mindful of the tiles, the spaces on the board that will give you bonus points. I'm looking through the EM and I see the double word score above it and I see the one below it. If I manage to put in 3 on top and 2 on the bottom at the very least, I'll be able to double my score and then quadruple my score ultimately. So I'm always looking for hot spots like that when I can't bingo, when I can't empty my rack of all the tiles. Then I'm looking for the dark blues. It's almost like I have vision only for dark blues. And in this case, I see under the BO a dark blue. How can I maximize my rack with those blue spaces? So it's not just an architectural game, but it's also a very visual, colorful game. To always be mindful of these hot spots on the board, because that's how you really score. No doubles through the EN and nothing through the KA.
So Dave has opted to play Warren on top in the end, as I thought perhaps he might, given that he has the 2 S's. It's very friendly for him to use later.
27 points, which will give him 190. Oh, the Peter score wasn't up to date. There we go. So Peter, as we can see, sorta, has
Wow.
an SEGN blank Y and something else.
And Dave has digests in 2 places next turn.
How does he do that? Okay. Still waiting to play.
So it looks like it's going to be a bingo bango coming up here.
GE blank.
Yeah, so
How
Peter
many?
is playing gyrenes
Oh,
in a
there we
great
go.
spot. Nice play. And Dave will likely just smack digest down on the bottom pretty quickly after. So trading blows.
Peter had nothing through that B along the triple row and really had no need to go there. Let's see how much he scored. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13. 93 points for Peter Armstrong, which will give him 318.
Disgest is also a nice play, but the I is left right underneath the triple letter score there, offering back a lot of potential points. The Q and the X are gone, so the biggest ones are gone there. Let's see, there's one H gone, K is gone. Maybe not so bad. Most of the letters that would really hurt you on that triple letter score with a play like Disgest are already played.
Right, you have to do the math and decide what you're going to get. Is it worth what you're going to potentially give up? So the K, the Q gone, yeah. And the X, so really the worst tiles are gone. We have some H's, one more H to go. Yeah, he's going to go for the higher scoring point. He has to make it more volatile for himself as well.
Yeah, that's true, being Dave
So
down a
89
lot,
points gives him 185, I believe. Did I do that right?
So then
285, I think.
Boo Bird has been suggested out there on the B in Bonamia. Fantastic play.
Boo Bird is definitely the play. Still a blank unseen. All the S's are gone. The bag is looking pretty nice, although we haven't seen any V's yet. Interestingly, when Dave played Warren, the computer had suggested snow off of EL and TI and ALEs, so making L's, tin, IO, and W, blocking that spot. I think there's something good to be said about that too.
Meanwhile, while Peter's looking at his options, Dave has got, at the very least, it looks like Zax and Zoe and Odd for a number of points. That's just a quick look there. There's likely something better, but maybe not.
Oh, that's lovely. You know, undouble the O, score a lot for your Z. I think that's a pretty no-brainer, but let's look through that B. There might be something there too. Zobo.
Zobo is another word for ox, in fact.
For ox?
Oh, another word for ox, Zobo.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Let's see if I can figure out what's doing on the other game. All right, we're going to have to go back. Okay, Matthew did in fact play impinged to go up 228 to 57. Jesse Day pulled Eurolite on his rack and played retinula, which is a very, very volatile word, one short of the triple. It takes an R, it takes an E, I believe, it takes an S.
All of those.
So he was down at that point 228 to 115. Matthew played a small play for 26 points.
Interestingly, Peter's play of Ow still allows for a Boo Bird next turn, just down to the triple word score in the other corner. But I'm just going to assume that I'm not so much sure he missed it, but perhaps against Dave, second thoughts, given that Dave is a walking dictionary.
So back at the TWL game, Jesse did in fact stick an E on his retinula to make retinuli and jests. But unfortunately for him, Matthew picked up BEEMTU blank out of the bag, which the S in jests allows him to play embrute along the side of. And we'll see if that's what he played. He did, in fact, play that for 84. So score 381 to 220. And ironically, he has Winnie with an E on his rack, which is pretty close to what he saved in his opening rack of the games.
So Dave is opting for Zoe and Zax in the end here. Don't see anything wrong with that. Good play.
Yeah, that was the play. So all the hot spots that we've been talking about are now taken. But now there are two different parts of the board, at least, where bingos can be played.
So Peter has the lovely boudoir on his rack on this turn.
And not playable. It's always shocking to me sometimes when a bingo can't go down on a Collins board. There's so many hooks. But unfortunately not this time. this late in the game, it would be pretty tough for Dave to come back.
So Boudoir down from the BO, made in his last play.
He went down in the boudoir.
I'll refrain from making my own comment on that, but yes.
I think that was a perfectly good play.
So improv plays off of the, I think he doesn't have an R, doesn't he? Yeah, improv could be played off of the I in boudoir, saving the E.
That's a very nice play. My stamp of approval. And it has the double, not only does it score very well, but it also blocks the bingo lane. Although he's behind. And how are we doing on tiles?
Peter has bifocal, which could play, assuming that improv isn't taken. But improv, I would imagine, is Dave's play here.
Situation in TWL is Matthew is up 381 to 268 with a rack of AFO QRRZ on his rack. And still plenty of tiles left.
Yeah, Dave's already got improv lined up on his rack. Probably just considering his other options to make sure he's not giving anything up.
Well, whether to play the E as well, taking into account what's left in the bag. He might choose to play the E. A few more points, and there's still plenty of E's left. And there still is that blank left, but we're rapidly running out of places to bingo. People not familiar with the game will sometimes wonder, well, that just seems like such the obvious play. Why is he taking so long? There are so many things to consider when you are making a play in Scrabble. Current situation, future situation, what's in the tile bag, what is not, what's your opponent likely to have, what are the chances of me scoring well the next turn based on not only what I play but also what I left on my rack.
So with the play of improv, bifocal on Peter's rack has been blocked. That's what we expected.
So 42 points to put him up to 374. And now we have a much closer game, obviously, but he's not going to be getting the blank that he's looking for. And now he's thinking, maybe I should have played that E. Well, at the very least, let me see if I can see his rack. He might have emu at the very... No, he doesn't have an M. So AFILOB blank. AB.
Peter is going to be aware, with all four of the S's gone and one blank played already, that the S hook on Warren is going to be his exclusively, more or less, so he can take his time to groom his rack, really, because I'm not seeing an easy way for Dave to remove that as a bingo option.
Yeah. What you're looking is to get rid of the F and or B. The ABL is a wonderful synchrony, so not that there's a lot of places, but a compound word ending in ABLE is also something we study.
Perhaps channeling his inner Matthew Tunnicliffe, he could play Barf through the R in improv, but Barfy wouldn't come up in this particular case, given the position.
Well, he's got that last blank. I'd probably want to...
But Fob is also looking pretty good.
Where are you seeing Fob? Oh, there we go. Over just, yeah.
Yeah.
Which improve would have prevented.
Yes.
Which is another reason why improve might have been slightly better. Fib or fob? We have to count how many of each are left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 O's unseen. I think one eye unseen, from what I can tell.
So fob over disgest in the end is the choice that Peter has gone for here, leaving AIL blank. Nice suggestion from the chat, 4 milk through the REM for a double-double for lots of points.
Oh, how pretty. Was that natural without using a blank?
K would have been the blank.
Oh, you would have, okay. Oh, he's picked a beautiful
Yeah,
rack.
he doesn't need to do that given he has the last blank to make an S. And yes, looks like he's going to play Hailers or something similar.
Or he also has dihedral off the D, so he's bingoing no matter what. And I think we're going to have a tie in our matchup. And I cannot say the same for Matthew versus Jesse. Score 403-287 last time I was able to see an update. Yeah, that's where we're at, 403-287. Now Matthew has a mitt full. He did have the Q, which he could play fakir. He chose not to. He wanted to block the Embrute hook along the triple. And then picked a U to go with his Q. But he also has a V and a Z to go with that. So he's got quite the handful there. But he has a 120-point lead. So he's in very good shape. Hair lip. Splashier. I don't know, I'm seeing P's in there. There's so many bingos in the N Peters rack. Of course, playing Hailers would cause him to open a triple-triple, so he would do really, really well to find dihedral. That will pretty much seal the game. If he plays Hailers, there might be some tight moments at the end.
So Dave will be unaware at this point, but it really doesn't matter what he plays here.
He's playing poo-poo, I think.
He's playing the poo-poo.
Well, pretty smart. Might be out of necessity to get rid of those two U's, but forcing Peter, if he had anything to, well, no, he can bingo off the P, Plashier. So, Parhelic and Parhelia. So yeah, that's really, yeah, and he has Parhelia or Parhelic. We won't be able to know what it is until the computer tells us. But he's definitely going to be playing that. He saw that immediately. Gee, I don't think I even had time to look up and down before he had that on his rack, ready to go. All right. In the other game, Matthew did get down Corn for 28 points, getting rid of his QU. Jesse with a rack of AEINORY. And really the only places to bingo on their board is off a W and through an H, but the H has to be towards the end. And you can also bingo starting with a vowel. There is Doni going down to the triple, but there are no S's left or blanks. And we're waiting for Jesse to play. He's down 124 points. Oh, no, more than that, 44 points. Not looking good for Jesse. And we get down either Parhelic or Parhelia. In that last rack for Dave, the computer preferred Pulu at 6E, Prem, and EN. And He played Parhelik. I guess you would expect him to play the C for whatever defensive
Naturally,
reason.
yeah.
Now he's got a really horrid rack, but he has the luxury of not having to worry too much. We're down to 1 tile in the bag. That was also very convenient.
Yes.
To have 8 tiles in the bag when he had his bingo. So he didn't play out and risk having Dave do some sort of Hail Mary bingo through the ET or through the REM or something. Yeah, now he's just ending it quickly. $25 for Dave, giving him $4.15. And Peter can be stuck with every high tile point on his rack and still.
It still doesn't matter here. So this is going to be a 1-1 tie in the series between these two.
Dave will still be ahead on spread. He had conf lined up, but I'm not sure where he's going to put that. Oh, does he have a word making itch? The IT in Telly and H in Parhelik, can he come across there? I can't see his rack. I think he only has the 1 vowel. But that would have been fun to do that. Then conf and then GV something, right? GVD.
Yes.
All right. Oh, he can play Doc. And you see that? Doc over Parhelik, the ARH, making Da, R, and ITCH.
That's going for
that's
creme
worth
and
more.
pomp, more points. It's
There
a
you
good
go.
play. And they've played out here, so Peter's officially taken this second game, so 1-1 tie in the series. Meanwhile, over on the other board 1 between Jesse and Matthew, Matthew is still up by a sizable amount, so it looks like he's going to be taking a 2-0 lead over Jesse in the final there to determine the North American Scrabble champion.
Well, Jesse has just picked up Hairnet and In Earth and Therian, which he can play underneath Zooier that Matthew just played for 35 points. So 94 points. He's going to make it less of a blowout, but he's going to be able to score quite a lot of points. And I think we're done with this game.
Well, to see if we have some updates from some of the other divisions here. In Division 2, John Karras has won the second game by